I'm going to share with you an embarrassing story that I know for a fact you have experienced. Hopefully, not to the same level that I've experienced it, but I know that we've all experienced something like it. But first of all, welcome to New Teacher Big Impact Live. I'm your host, Daryl Williams Jr., former terrible teacher turned two-time teacher of the year. And every week I go live to help give you a new teacher quick tip of the week. And tonight is no different. I'm going to help you think through a situation that we've all probably been through so that you can discover a tip that's going to help you in your classroom starting now. Tonight's format is going to be a little bit different. And what I'm going to do is ask that we have any questions. I'm here to answer any questions. I want to make this a Q&A. We're still going to keep it to about 15 minutes because I'm going live for our workshop at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. But right now, I'm going to answer just whatever questions you may have. So populate the chat with questions. Maybe I can add a comment here that'll let you know post questions and I will answer them because I want you to be able to ask questions. And boom. But before we get started with the questions, I want to kind of share something that's been on my mind. Something that's been on my mind recently, and this is what I'm talking about when I say that there's an embarrassing story that I'm sure we've all experienced. And for me, the life lesson that it taught me is something that I want you to hold on to. And a couple of months ago, I was working on my car, right? I'm a car guy. I like working on cars. And I got a new car, and I mean, it's a used car, but it's new to me. But I always like to change things up. So I got some new rims on the car. I bought rims online. Spoiler alert, it's not really a good idea to buy. I mean, it might be a good idea, but there are definitely some issues that you can run into. For example, I bought the rims online. They came, they're, first of all, they're 200 pounds worth of rims because they're 50 pounds each with tires, and I couldn't really fit them in my car. I drove them to my friend's house in order for us to work on them together. And when I got there, we put the rims on, and I realized that the way that it looked online was just a little bit different than the way it fit on my actual car because it couldn't actually spin past the calipers. Now, you may not know, you might not be a car person, but if you are, the calipers are the things that hold the brakes in place. So the rims wouldn't spin past that. What's going on, Jasenia? If you have questions, put the question in chat because I'm answering live questions here tonight. So the tire wouldn't actually spin. So I had to take them off, send them back, get new tires, do the whole process all over again, order some more online. They sent me some new in the mail. It took about a month or so to come. They finally came. We put them on again. And this time the tires fit. But when we tried to torque it down or when we tried to really make it nice and secure and tight, the lug nuts wouldn't go all the way down because it was too short. So I needed new lug nuts. Now, here's the crazy thing. Watch this. I was with my friend at his house, and when you look at the car, it looks good. Like the rims are on it. You know what I'm saying? The tires were there. The lug nut was kind of on, but it wasn't really secure. But it looked good. Like it passed the eyesight test. He said, but if you start driving, if you hit bumps, potholes, speed bumps, the car is going to start wobbling and the wheels are going to fall off and roll down the highway. He's like, so what do you want to do? And I looked at the car and I thought about all of the work that we had to do to get just to this point. The returning time and time again, the loading them in the car, 200 pounds worth of tires, ordering them online again, the embarrassment of having to drive back to my wife and let her know that we made another mistake. Like the time is taking as months have passed since I made this first order. And my friend said, look, you look like you got a lot going on in your mind. Let me help you out. And the thing he said right here is a thing that I'll never forget. And I want you to remember as well. He said, you look like you're thinking really hard. I know it's not an easy decision, but it's the right decision. Grab the wrench. Right? Because the decision is obvious. No, there's no way I'm gonna get into a car that has four wobbly wheels. No way I'm gonna put my children's car seats in a car that has four wobbly wheels. No way I'm gonna drive daily with four, you know what I'm saying? Without having secured wheels and rims on the car. But I was thinking about all the work, all the time, all the effort, all the embarrassment. And he was like, let me help you out. Grab the wrench. Let's get to work. Right? It may not be the thing you want to do. It may not be the most exciting reaction, right? It may not be the work that you want to put in, but it's the right choice. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because when I think about our educational journeys for so many people, Maybe it's embarrassing the fact that you don't know how to manage the classroom yet. Maybe you put in a lot of work to pass the praxis and get to the class that you're in, but you still don't understand how to properly plan effective lessons. Right? Maybe it's tiring for you to have to try to learn some more skills time and time again. But the reality of the situation is, let me help you out. You look like you're thinking about a lot of stuff. It's a tough decision, but it's the right one. Grab the wrench and get to work. Learn the skills that you need to learn in order to be the teacher that you wanted to be. I know that it's embarrassing. I know it's tiring. I know it's a lot of work. I know it's the work that you don't necessarily want to put in. I know that you would much rather just keep it. Listen, remember the car passed the eye test. When I looked at the car, like it looks like the rims are on. And maybe you passed the eye test. You have your certification. You're in the classroom. You've been there for 7, 8 years, right? Your students are doing okay. You're passing the eye test. But when you really think about it, are you being the teacher that you always wanted to be? Are you having the impact that you know that you can make, the maximum impact on these students and their lives? When you said, I'm going to become a teacher, is this what you were envisioning, or were you envisioning greater? And if you were envisioning greater, the only thing that's standing in the way between you and greater is you. Grab the wrench. Grab the wrench and learn those skills. I'm glad you learned so much, Jasenia. Right. So that's just kind of been on my mind. What can we do to grab the wrench and to acquire some more skills so that we can be the teachers that we've always wanted to be? If you don't know how to manage the classroom well, how can we learn how to do it? If you don't know how to engage students, where can we learn engagement strategies? If you're not sure how to communicate with parents effectively, where can we learn how to communicate with parents effectively? Right. So identify the thing that the gap that you have, identify the thing that you're not doing the way that you want to do it, and learn the skills that you need to be the teacher you've always wanted to be. Grab the wrench, get to work. You've got this. All right. So I'll start with the first question. And again, if you have questions, you see it there on the screen. We've got about 8 minutes left. If you have a question, just put a question there so that I can answer it. But the first question that I'm going to answer for the people that asked is, what is your favorite call and response? What is your favorite call and response? And I don't know why, for some reason, whenever people ask me questions, I can't just answer them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't just give you an answer. I've always feel like I have to explain. But my favorite, and I have to adjust the question, right? My favorite call and response is not a particular call and response. My favorite call and response is just the one that exists. My favorite call and response is the one that is done consistently, is the one that's done with effectively, is the one that students understand and respond to. So I I can't in particular give you, hey, say this and it'll work. But what I can say is that there are certain principles that'll work every time. And the principles of a call and response, that is an attention grabbing signal. In order for you to be able to understand, in order for you to be able to give students directions, or in order for you to be able to help students um, know new information, you first have to turn their voices off before you turn yours on. And it's funny because I said that on social media one time, and it was a short or a reel, something like that, or TikTok. And I said, before you start talking, turn students' voice off before you turn yours on. And people in the comments were like, what? That's easier said than done. You can tell this guy has never been in the classroom. And I was like, well, no, that's not the case. Actually, I was in the classroom, and I was a terrible teacher in the classroom, but I transitioned from that terrible teacher to a two-time teacher of the year, and then became an instructional coach and assistant principal. Like education is what I do. I'm not just saying things. This is what works. But what they really wanted to say, what I had to do was kind of really unpack what the comments were saying. What they really were saying was, I don't know how to turn students' voices off. So to answer the question, what's my favorite call and response? When you're using an attention grabbing signal, it has to be done in such a way that students know what is expected of them, and they are able to respond, and they respond consistently with 100% accuracy. So what that means is, whatever you decide, it doesn't even have to be a call and response. It can be a clapping of the hands, it could be a noise, it could be a sound, it could be turning off the lights. Like, there's so many different things. It's just a signal that when this thing happens, students understand that my response to this signal is, I need to get quiet to hear whatever the teacher is about to say. And the way that you roll it out is you let them know this is our attention grabbing signal. I'm going to say whatever it is. I'm going to do whatever this is. I'm going to play whatever this is. I'm going to do like you. This is what's going to happen. And here's how you respond. But wait, there's more because so many people stop there. I was observing a teacher a couple of weeks ago, and she asked me to help her with class management. I was in her classroom, and we went. Well, first we went through this whole kind of like lesson debrief. I was trying to help her with lesson planning and not lesson planning. Sorry, I was trying to help her with classroom management, and I'm going through the things that she needs to know. And we were going through the call and responses. She came up with, "When life gives you lemons," and then students would respond, "Make lemonade." Right. So we practiced it. We did that. Great. Get into the classroom, and she announced when life this is what our attention grabbing signal is going to be. And she said, when I say when life gives you lemon, you say make lemonade. She said that there were about 17 students in the class, and there were about 6 students that responded aloud. About 6 students that responded aloud. The other 11 students, some didn't say anything, some were looking down, some were like drawing on their paper. And then she moved on and said, okay, good, we got it. So then later in the class, what do you think happened? Later in the class, as once students got a little bit rowdy, I was sitting there watching. She said, first she looked at me like she knew that she was supposed to use it, but she looked at me and she said, "All right, when life gives you lemons," and a couple of students said, "Make lemonade." Just a couple of them, and then she went on, kept talking, was giving the directions that she was going to give. Students were still talking. Students were still off task, doing the things that they wanted to do. There were just a couple of students that were listening. Why? Because she announced that this is what our attention grabbing signal is going to be, but she didn't practice it to perfection. One of the things I tell my students, one of the things that I say to my children is that we don't just practice until we get it right. We practice until we can't get it wrong. I know that sounds a little rough. I know that sounds harsh, but there are just some things. My daughter will work. She's 5 years old right now. We're working on sight words, and we were working on the word R. And she said it, ARE. She said, R, got it. Boom. And then I waited a couple minutes and asked her, pointed to the wall, and said, what's that word? She didn't get it. Wait. I went too fast on that story, but you get the point, right? She said, I got it, Dad. I got it. I told her to go practice. She said, I got it already. I got it. I told her to go practice. She said, I got it. And I came and asked her, what's that word? She said, I said, you told me that you practiced, but we don't just practice until we get it right. We practice until we can't get it wrong. I'm saying the same thing for you and the students in your classroom. You said that we're going to have an attention grabbing signal, but we don't just say it once. We don't just practice it one time. We practice it, make sure the students do it well and do it right and do it the way that they're supposed to do. And we do it again and again and again until it is second nature, until we can't get it wrong. Every time I say, when life gives you lemons, 100% of students say, make lemonade and sit silently and look at me and wait for whatever is coming next. What I'm saying is, we don't just practice this thing until we get it right. We practice it until we can't get it wrong. And that is my favorite attention grabbing signal. Not the life gives you lemons, make lemonade thing, but the attention grabbing signal that whenever you do it, students know what the expectation is. They respond. You do it. And if they don't respond the way that they are supposed to respond, we do it again. We reward those that don't, that they got it right. We consequence those that don't. We keep it moving. We keep practicing, because the only way that is going to be effective is if it is second nature to students, right? So some of my favorites, all right, just I guess to land the plane and answer your questions. I always like motivational, positive, one word call and responses. So I would say something like, when I say dream, you say big, dream big, dream big. When I say work, you say hard. When I say don't, you say quit. When I say live, you say right. Right. So I no, excuse me, those were my go-tos when I was in the classroom. And still now, still now when I have to go quiet a classroom, I'll say, all right, when I say dream, you say big, dream big, boom. So those were my particulars, but they didn't work because of the words dream big. I chose those words because I wanted to fit with my vibe, my positivity, my encouragement. But that's not the reason why they worked. The reason why they worked is because I used it consistently, and students understood that once we do this, here's how we're supposed to respond. Okay, so that is my favorite call and response. Thank you so much for the question. Again, post any questions and I will answer them in the chat. But if there are not any questions, now that it is 7:15 Eastern time. I like to come in 15 minutes, hit it, and then get ready for my webinar, my workshop right at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. So there are no questions. I will transition to that. If you're looking for how to register, tonight we're talking about how to become the teacher that you've always wanted to be, and how to build confidence in yourself so that you can confidently lead the classroom. One of the greatest issues that teachers face is a lack of confidence. A lack of confidence because they feel like they don't have the support that they need. They feel like they don't have the skills that they need to lead their classroom, and they feel like they have to stifle their uniqueness. And when teachers are faced with these three things, there's a lack of confidence. And when there's a lack of confidence, now there's a lack of confidence in students. Students are disengaged, and when students are disengaged, the classroom is mismanaged. So sometimes we feel like we have a classroom management problem when in actuality we have a confidence problem. So what I'm going to work on the workshop tonight is helping teachers realize how to gain their confidence so that they can get back to effective instruction and enjoying their careers. So if you're looking for that, the link is in the description below. Samuel, good to see you. Glad that you're here, man. Glad that you haven't seen you in a while. But I'm glad that you are here live. Right? You got to be bold. You got to be consistent. That's how we are going to make the difference. All right. So if you are interested in the workshop, it is completely free. I'll be starting in about 15 minutes. I'm going to transition there so I can get ready for that. Thank you for being here. I'll go live every Tuesday to answer whatever questions you have. So keep them in your minds until then. Or send me a message, and I'll see if I can respond. But I'll see you on the next one. New Teacher Big Impact, the workshop. No, New Teacher Big Impact live. Now I'm going into New Teacher Big Impact, the workshop.